Heaven was light and dark. It was either light out or dark out.
天空呢可能是光明的，或者是黑暗的，它是有这个亮的或者暗的这个时间。
The earth was firm or yielding.
那么地面呢，它是坚硬的或者是柔软的。
And man in between is active or passive.
那么在天地之间的人呢，他是积极的或者是消极的。
So if it's light out, we see what we're doing. We can see where we're going. It's easy. If it's dark out, you have to be more cautious. We can't see where we're going. That's the light and the dark.
那么如果是早晨的时候是光亮的时候，我们知道我们去哪里，我们看得见自己；如果是黑暗的时候，我们看不见自己，所以我们做事情的时候就会需要小心翼翼。
So the earth is firm or yielding. If you're standing on solid ground, it's firm. If it's light out and it's solid ground, you can run, you can do so much, you can see what you're doing, you're not going to fall. That's easy.
那么这个土地是坚实的，就是代表说，你可以站在这个地上是非常的踏实的。然后如果是天亮的，然后在那坚实的地上，你可以出去游玩或者出去做很多事情，你不需要担心。
But if the earth is yielding, if there's garbage, there's rocks, there's stones, and it's not a secure foundation, it's hard to walk. Even when it's daylight, it's hard to walk.
如果这个土地是柔软的，或者土地有断裂的，或者是不平的，那么你可能站在这个上面是有危险的，或者是即使是天亮，你可能也要小心翼翼的行走。
If the earth is full of garbage and you can't walk, and it's dark out, it's even harder to walk, even dangerous to walk.
那么如果说你站在地面是不稳的，然后你是处在黑夜的，那么对你来说，做很多事情会更加危险。
This is still true today.
那么这个现象对于现在来说，同样也是真实的，同样是可以应用的。
In June, the sun's up till 10 o'clock at night, 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. It's up late. It's nothing. We're out till 10 o'clock at night. Nothing. We go out, walk around.
在6月的时候，就是在6月份的时候，日常会很长嘛，所以其实到很晚的时候，其实天还是亮的，我们还是可以有很多就是还是有很多就是在外面去玩啊，或者是做很多事情。
But in the winter, when it gets dark early, you're gonna. Do I walk out? Do I go here? It's much more cautious.
那么如果是冬天的话呢，就是日常会缩短，所以黑夜的话会比较早来临，所以那个时候人们会就变得比较就是会比较担心，会比较谨慎。我是否要出去？我是否要去出去玩？我是否要干这个事情呢？
So this is simple, but it's true for everybody.
是非常简单的道理，但是它对所有人都是真实的。
These various stages of change have been observed since 3300 BC and probably earlier than that.
那么这个非常简单的这些不同的阶段、周期和这个变化的这个阶段呢，实际上已经在3300年公元前3300年被古人观察到，甚至是更早的时期。
So the beginning of astrology goes back to the beginning of language.
那么占星学的起源呢，实际上是在语言的起源之前就开始了。
The early notation, they called it change or the I Ching, but it's astrology.
那么对这个早的著作呢，是被叫做变化或者是易经，然后呢，它其实在本质上应该是占星学。
So, in the moving lights, there are 3 primary cycles that determine the nature of our situation.
那么在观察这个移动的这个星体的时候呢，我们可以发现3个主要的这个周期。那么这3个主要周期呢，决定了这个我们现实环境的这个本质。
So I said this a bit before. So the sun, the earth, the moon.
那么太阳的周期、地球的周期和月亮的周期。
The course of the year, they mark the year, the day, and the month.
那么它们带来了我们年的变化和每天的变化和月的变化。
They've always done this. They always will. It represents the essence of life on Earth.
那么这些规律是永远不会变的，而且它们也会永远的延续下去。它们代表了这个在地球上生命的本质。
In the early days, Emperor Fuxi, these cycles were observed, the changes were known, they were taught, and people followed them.
那么在中国古代就是公元前3300年的时候呢，在伏羲帝的时代呢，这些周期都会被观测到，以及他们的这些变化呢，都会被人们所知，然后进行口耳相传的教学。
It was the natural order of life and change. It was referred to as the early sequence of heaven, and was followed for thousands of years.
那么当时呢是被理解为易经啊，是被理解为这个自然的这个生命的变化的一些自然的规律。那么它也是被称为说这个早期的这个天空的秩序。然后呢，在几千年来呢被人流传。
In 1200 BC, a new emperor and a new dynasty began. It was the time King Wan, his son the Duke of Chou, I believe it was the beginning of the Zhao dynasty.
在公元前1200年的时候，就是新的帝国开始了，也是标志了一个新的时期。那么这个时候呢，是周文王，就是周文王和他的这个儿子的那个时期。
They were the first known to write the meanings of the hexagram down in words.
那么他们是在中国历史上最早的被是把这个易经的这个卦象的意思写成文字的人。
They changed the old ways and started a new tradition.
那么他们把中国这个伏羲开创的这个古老的方法呢，就是进行了改变，然后开始了一个新的传统。
They rearranged the standards for measuring change, and they changed the sequence of the hexagrams.
那么他们重新组合排列了，并且建立了新的这个衡量变化的这个准则。然后呢，他们改变了这个卦象的顺序。
It was here that the mathematical concepts became interwoven with the I Ching.
那么实际上，它是把这个易经最早的这个变化呢，是跟数学的这个概念结合起来了。
Before this time, there wasn't the 5 elements. There was 8 and 64 divisions. It changed. The numbers, the magic squares, and the numbers became a powerful magic. And people would say, if the numbers were there and they aligned, it means something. More than nature of light, dark. It changed.
那最早的时候，这个伏羲发明的这个易经呢，它其实是源自这个观测这个自然的。那么周文王的那个时代，他重新改变了以后呢，可能是对这些数学或者数字过于的着迷，他们会觉得说每一个数字代表的含义是非常特殊的，所以他们可能超越了这个就是自然的含义。
So this was one of the original drawings.
那么这是最早的一个这个关于易经的这个绘画。
Really, all the early material was word of mouth. It was only King Wan and Duke of Chou who started publishing these or making them as drawings so that they could be passed on.
那么早期的都是口耳相传的，只有到周文王的时候，才会把卦象的每一个意思记录下来，然后就是开始写，就是有书面的文字进行传播。
So this shows 6 broken lines. It shows a sequence up to the 6 solid lines, the greatest brightness, and back around to the greatest darkness. It shows it in a circle. Yeah.
那么这是一个秩序，大家可以看到最上面的就是6根断的线。那么这6根断的线呢是在最黑暗的时刻，然后再到下面6根实的线是最光明的时刻，然后这样的是一个依次的一个顺序的一个周期。
And in the middle, they were put in a square.
那么在中间呢就是一个正方形，把卦象变成一个正方形。
So this is a zodiac, the horoscope, 12 signs, and it puts it. There's the spring, there's the longest day of the summer, the beginning of summer. There's the fall, and there's the longest night, and the beginning of the winter.
然后外面一圈呢是12个星座，然后大家可以看到说，这4个象限的话，可以看到说最下面的是夏天，就是夏至的时候，然后右边是秋天，然后最上面是这个最寒冷的季节冬天，然后最左边就是春天。
So in a way, the I Ching is a zodiac of 64 divisions.
那么实际上就是从这样子的一个画面可以理解，易经实际上是就是星座，它把它分成了64个部分。
And it ends up the lines in the I Ching, they're the degrees of the zodiac. Each line is like a degree of space.
那么 其实你可以看到说每一条线就好像说是黄道上的一个度数。
So when you see this correspondence, it gives you access to the wisdom of 5,000 years. You can take astrology and go back and see what Confucius said and see what other people said about these things.
那么，这其实就是把中国的智慧和占星完全的联系起来，它其实就是自然的一个科学。
This is very different than just the popular astrology.
这和这个普通的占星学是不一样的。
So this is another picture where it has, in this way, the hexagrams are on the outside, still the same. There's the long darkness and all the brightness down here at Gemini, but it shows this is the family tree. You have a father and a mother, each has half of the circle.
那么外面那一圈大家可以看到说还是64卦，然后也最下面还是这个就是6条实线是夏至的时候，最上面还是6条这个就是断的线，那么就是冬天的时候，但是最里圈呢其实就是阴和阳，就是父亲和母亲。
So everybody has 2 parents, then we have 4 grandparents.
那么这就是一个像家庭树图一样的，中间是父亲和母亲，那么接下来呢就是有4个子孙。
And then 8 great grandparents.
然后在他们再生了4个子孙，8个子孙。
16 great great grandparents.
然后再接下来生了16个子孙。
And then 64 great 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 grandparents.
那就是64个接下来子孙。
So what this chart does, it shows you the zodiac to the hexagrams, but also each member of your family tree is in a piece of your horoscope.
那么这条显示了就是这个图显示了就是黄道12宫它和这个周易的64个卦象的这个含义，以及说每一个宫位它可能跟这个就是这个卦象的这个家庭族谱图的这个部分相应的部分。
In older times in China, it was a great loss to lose your family tree, to not have that record.
那么在中国的时候，就是古代的时候，如果失去了你的家的族谱是非常重大的一件事情，所以说族谱这个图系是非常重要的。
Okay. So just back to this. There it is in numbers.
那么这些是数字。
Sorry. Okay. So they went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up to it goes up to 30, 31, and it goes up to here and it counts this way again.
OK， 那么这个外圈呢，大家可以看到说右半圈是从1到31，然后又从左边开始，左上方开始从32到63。
On the top, in the square, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It goes just across like this.
那么在中间的正方形呢，就是按照那样的次序依次排列的。
So there was a big change when the numbers got put to the wheel. King Wan and Duke of Chou changed the order of the sequences, and they started working with numbers as having meanings.
那么周文王呢，他们那个时候呢就开始去改变了这个周易的卦这个顺序，他们是把数字带入进去，数学带进去了。
And the numbers, after a few hundred years, the numbers were more powerful than nature. It was magical. It was more important than nature.
那么在接下来的时代里面，似乎是说数字比这个自然，比我们这个所生活的这个自然还要神秘，还要有力量，还要神奇。
So there's a couple of different maps. To the Yellow River map, there's a couple ones, but they show the numbers 5 for the 5 elements.
这是河图。
And then it has 1, 2, 3, 4. They count them out, and they put the trigrams aligned to it. This was an early drawing because the 3 solid lines opposite the 3 broken. Yeah.
那么这是非常早期的河图，非常有名的，大家可以百度一下。中间是5个数字，然后还有下面是1、2、3、4，就是按照顺序来的。然后外圈其实就是最早的这个8个卦象，然后上面是最上面的是3条实线，下面的是3条这个断的线。
So this is another version of it of the Yellow River map.
这是河图的另外一个版本。
But now it was changed. It was changed. They took the trigrams aren't on here. It shows the elements, the 5 elements.
那么他们把5个元素加进去了，然后把这个卦象给去掉了。
But the numbers are the same. The 5 for the 5 elements, the 10, 1, 2, 3, 4. The numbers are still the same.
数字还是相同的。
Then this is what became mainstream.
那么这个就是成为主要潮流的当时的这个洛书。
And this was the new arrangement of the Duke of Chou. This is called the sequence of later heaven.
这是后天八卦图，就是周文王改变以后的这个主要潮流，就是后天八卦图。
He took over the empire and said, we're going to make it different than before. And these new arrangements, the other may have been how it was done before. This is the new arrangement, and this is how the world works now.
那么就是当周文王他开始了新的王朝的时候，他决定说我要把这个也开创一个新的模式，所以这就是他后来制定了一个新的这个后天八卦图的一个，也是在后面成为主要潮流的这样的一个模式。
It's a good example of when someone knows a little bit about astrology and thinks they know a lot, they can make changes and make decisions that aren't exactly good.
那么他们做的这个改变，其实他们只是了解一点点的自然，也就是占星学，然后他们把他们所知道的这个数啊，这个包括数啊这些数学加进去，然后改变成他们自己觉得能够管用的东西。
So the system on this, right, you have the 5, there's the 1, it goes to 9. This is like they put the trigrams in, but for the first time they put the 3 broken lines here and the 3 solid lines here.
那么他们在数字呢仍然是相同的，但是他们也把这个卦象放进去了。但大家可以看到说，刚刚3条实的线和3条虚的线的位置是不同了。
So they took the 2 opposites and they made them not opposite.
那么他们之前大家可以看到先天八卦图的时候，这2条就是3条实的线和3条断的线，它们其实是对面的，就是对冲的。但现在这里它们并不相面对面了。
In nature, opposites are opposite.
那么在自然界中，相对立的阴和阳就是相对立的。
But this was the beginning of a whole new mathematical era.
那么这是一个非常当时全新的一个这个数学的这个潮流的时期。
And even today, it's the beginning of science. Science lined up to numbers.
那么就好像说是一个科学的这个发展的时期，因为科学就是和数学是相应的。
But if science had lined up to nature, we would not have the pollution we have today.
如果说科学是和自然相应的话，那么我们现在就不会有污染了。
So, the magic in this is that everything adds up to 15.
那么这里的这个非常神奇的事情是，所有的数加起来都是，就是所有的这个路线加起来都是15。
1, 5, 9.
5加9加1。
2, 7, 6.
2、7、6。
4, 3, 8.
4、3、8。
8, 1, 6.
8、1、6。
3, 5, 7.
3、5、7。
4, 9, 2.
4、9、2。
4, 5, 6.
4、5、6。
2, 5, 8.
2、5、8。
So this was a magic square.
它叫做一个神奇的这个四方形。
So these started emerging after 1200 BC.
那么这个就是在1200年，这个公元1200年之前才开始出现了。
The magic squares were also very popular in the East, in the West, in Israel, and in the Western mysticism. They had all these magic squares.
那么在以色列，在西方的那个时代，也是有这个神奇的四方形也是非常盛行的。
So to me, I feel at this time, this emperor was influenced by some travelers from the West.
所以对我来说，我认为说当时的那个就是皇帝，他可能是受到很多外国旅行者的影响。
So he saw the numbers, he saw how they had meaning, and changed everything to fit to numbers.
那么他看到了这样神奇的这个四方形的话，他根据这个神奇的四方形，然后重新定义了这个先天八卦图。
So the numbers are an abstraction. They make us think in abstract thoughts.
那么数字是抽象的，它让我们的思维去跳跃出这个是抽象的这些思维。
It's like it's not natural thinking. It's natural thinking is about it's light, it's dark. We can agree on it. This is good, this is bad. But abstractions, we go off in our mind. We can't prove it.
那么，它并不是就是非常自然的去观察自然界的现象，而是通过一些数列的抽象的一些东西去进行推测。
There's another difficulty with this.
这里也有一个困难，就是这个后天八卦图也有一个难点。
Instead of taking the greatest brightness for the beginning of summer,
那么
they put summer up here.
那么之前呢是把这个最光亮的时候，也就是3根实线作为夏季开始，就是夏季。但是现在大家可以看到夏季就是那个最上面的那个。
Yeah, so this is something. Then they put the winter here. So, yeah.
下面是冬天。
So they arranged they put the numbers in, then they put the numbers around, then they put the trigrams in a new order.
他们把这个数字加进去，然后呢，就是把这个就是卦象进行了新的排序。
Then they added north, south, east and west.
然后他们把东南西北加进去，方位。
And then they added the seasons.
然后再把四季加进去。
But they didn't add the seasons knowingly.
但是他们并不是有意识的去跟自然和谐的把这个四季加进来。
Summer is not 1 point. Summer is a quarter of the year.
那么夏季并不是一个点，它实际上是4分之一的这个一年1/4的时间。
Who knows how much education did people get at those times? Only those that would know.
当时的人类并没有这么多的这个教育或者是知识了解这些。
And the new teachings and the new emperor would have probably killed all the old priests.
那么新时代的那些老师，他们可能把旧时的那些老师都杀掉了。
So after 1,000 years, Fuxi, King Wan and the Duke of Chou were the revered ancestors who brought us the changes.
那么，所以呢，就是那个时候，就是周武王开启的那个时代以后呢，那个帝王他实际上就成了这些代言人。
But nobody remembered Fuxi from 3300 who had the right experience system.
那么，所以呢，当时的人们都忘记了，就是真正发明这些的，就是伏羲，他们这些伏羲的教义呢，可能跟自然相应的教义也被失传了。
So magic squares, number associations became the new standard for measuring change and finding meaning in life.
那么，这个神奇的四方形和这个数列的组合，也就是数学，它成为了这个衡量就是变化的这个新的标准，也就是帮助人们去寻找生命中的意义。
So, if you're going to meet someone and you want to get a hug, and they say take a number and wait, it's insulting.
如果说你遇到一个人，然后你想要拥抱他，然后对方说停，等一下，先让我抽数。
It's not the same experience.
这并不是一个非常友善的一个经历。
It's almost like between men and women. Men are thinking, and women know whether they know. Wait, who's smarter, men or women?
就好像说男人和女人谁更聪明一样。
Men think, we know this, I know this, I know this.
男人好像说我懂这个，我懂那个，我什么都懂。
They can talk about it. It's not the same thing.
他们可以这样说，但是实际上并不一定是这样的。
So, a man can work 40 years. He gets to retire. He comes home. After 40 years, he starts telling the wife how to do the laundry.
男人可能他工作了40年，然后他退休了，然后40年后他回家了，他40年来首次跟这个妻子说你应该怎么做家务。
So we've had in this whole area, there's so many mental concepts. It's incredible, but it's not nature.
那么在这样的一个这个后天的八卦图里面，它有非常多的思维逻辑，它有非常多的数的东西，但是它并不是自然的，它并不是就是取自自然的。
So numbers became the standard for deduction and reasoning.
那么数呢变成了就是推算和这个分析逻辑的这样的一个新的标准。
Okay, before this, all we think of the old Chinese masters, Confucius, Lao Tzu, they're so profound. They say things that's so obscure. We don't know what they mean. It could mean this, it could mean that, and we wonder about it.
for a long time.
那么在说这个之前，我想讲一下，所有中国的这些贤人，所有中国的这些圣贤啊，比如说孔子啊或者老子，我们都认为他们太伟大了，然后他们所说的那些又那么抽象，好像我们一点都不了解他们到底在说什么。
So, but the older masters, Fuxi and earlier, were very lucid. It was very clear. It was not abstract thinking. It was clear.
那么在更早的这些贤人的话呢，他们实际上是非常清晰的、清楚的，像伏羲一样，他的很多教义是非常清晰的。
So in the I Ching, when you read the book, so many people wrote part of the book.
在《易经》这本书上呢，大家可以看到说，其实有很多人写了不同的部分。
But every now and then you get a sentence or a few pictures, and they come alive. You go, oh, it comes alive.
那么，当你看到一个图片或者看到一句话的时候，你就忽然说，哦，这个对我来说，我就知道什么意思了。
That's when you touched one of the old teachings.
那实际上就是你能够就是接触到古老的教义的时候。
This is an example.
这就是一个案例。
In the early arrangement,
那么在先天八卦图中呢
the yang trigrams, the first sun was right after winter. The daylight increases. The first sun, the thunder.
那么这是一个第一个儿子就是雷，那么就是当他这个日常增多的时候，日光。
The second son was the lightning. The fire was brighter. The second son.
第二个儿子就是更光亮的，他好像是火和雷。
And the third son was happier.
第三个儿子更开心了。
And the father was just the individual, the strong, creative. He did his own thing.
那么这个父亲呢，就是非常强壮的这个人，他能够创造所有的东西。
So this was the half of the year in the old style, in the old natural order.
那么这是古老的这个秩序，那么它就是半年的，这个就是半年的时间。
The first daughter was the gentle, penetrating.
那么第一个女儿呢，是一个非常温柔的人。
The second daughter was the abysmal, the critical, it's like dangerous water.
那么第二个女儿好像就是危险的河流一样，她常常去评论评断。
Why? Because she had a mother and an older sister telling her what to do.
为什么呢？因为她有一个母亲和她的这个长姐会经常的指手画脚，告诉她应该做些什么。
So what's fair? It's not fair.
那么这什么是公平？这根本不公平啊！
So the third daughter, the third daughter was the mountain, keeping still.
那么第三个女儿就是山，她就是那个安静的、宁静不动的山。
What could the third daughter do? She just waits. The other girls do everything, and she does nothing.
那么她能做什么呢？她就在那儿不动，其他的女孩做事情去吧。
So if you're the oldest sister, and you have two younger sisters, it's going to look like the young one gets away with everything.
Sorry.
It looks like if you're the first sister, and you have two sisters, it looks like the young one does nothing.
如果你是第三个女孩，然后上面有两个姐姐的话，好像看上去是你什么都不做。
So this understanding has changed for China because it's been one family, one child families for many years.
因为这个就是兄弟姐妹的概念，在中国可能并不这么的这个清，因为中国是独生子女制度。
So this was the original logic. When they changed the trigrams, when they changed the order in 1200.
那么这是左边是先天八卦图，那么在后面呢，就是在公元前1250年的时候呢，他们改变了这个顺序。
They made the father was the three solid. The first son was one solid and then two broken, so it's odd, even. It would add up to 7. It's an odd number, so it becomes the first son. He's thunder. Stayed the same.
阳的话，第一个就是右边，就是第一个是父亲，第二个就是第一个儿子，他是7，是代表雷。
Now, the mother stayed the same. The first daughter was the gentle, stayed the same.
那么母亲是一样的，然后第一个女儿温柔的或柔软的，她也是一样的。
But when they changed the trigrams, they changed the next two. They changed the second daughter to the second son. They reversed them.
那么他们就是把第二个女儿和第二个儿子顺序改掉了，互换了。
And they changed the third daughter and the third son.
那么他们把第三个女儿和第三个儿子的位置也是互换了。
So the logic in this, it means the first son was still the strong first son. The first daughter was still the sensitive woman.
那么这样的逻辑就是，第一个儿子还是那个强壮的儿子，第一个女儿还是那样温柔的，就是有知觉的这样的一个女性。
But the second son was made more feminine.
那么第二个儿子可能更会阴柔一点。
The abysmal, the dangers, the second son. And so the father would give to the first son, not to the second son.
所以就是父亲会继承给第一个儿子长子，而不是第二个儿子。
And the third son became keeping still mountains, does nothing.
那么第三个儿子就变成一个就是安静的、稳定的大山一样，他什么都不做。
And the second daughter became the fire.
那么第二个女儿变成火。
She became more masculine.
她变得更男性化。
And the third daughter became the pleasure. Again, more masculine. So the pleasure for a daughter, this is terrible. She's the concubine. She's the mistress that sleeps with everyone. This is terrible.
那么第三个女儿也更具有男性化，她越享受就更具有享乐的倾向。
So from a simple change like this, of changing the trigrams, the philosophies and the religions and the ways it got carried on had a very prominent effect for thousands of years.
那么虽然是简单的秩序的变化，但是它后面的那些哲学的思想和它的一些就是逻辑的话，可能都会有非常大的影响。
So that's just an example.
这只是一个例子。
Unfortunately, the numbers became detached from natural cycles.
非常不幸的就是数学呢，其实制造了这个周易中它跟这个自然周期的这种剥离的现象。
And an era of abstraction and mathematical logic has prevailed since then.
然后就是这带来了这样的一个时期，就是抽象的和数数的这样逻辑成了主导的潮流。
Okay. Many great insights came from these number associations.
那么通过这些数数的关系呢，其实我们带来了很多新的洞见。
But they took the rearranging of the trigrams led to a deviance from nature.
然而这些重新排列的卦象呢，实际上是和自然的现象就是越走越远了。
And over in the world, around the world, that deviation is how science is doing so much, and the world is getting polluted.
那么实际上从这个世界的现象来看，好像就是类似于现在科技这么发展，科学这么发展，而世界上这么多地方受到污染。
So science has not been responsible for nature.
那么科学并不对自然负责任。
So it came to a world of abstract, obscure, mental, mathematical concepts.
那么这其实是因为一个抽象的，或者是更加就是更加这个脱离自然的数的数学或者逻辑的这样的一个方法造成的。
Everybody's in their head or their iPods, and it's all abstract.
那么每个人好像只是关注于他自己手上的这一方，比如说每个人都在看自己的这个手机。
So if you go on a date and the guy's looking at his iPod instead of you, are you happy?
如果你去约会的话，那么对方他只看着这个手机 iPad， 他根本不看你一眼，你心里会是怎么感觉？
So the association with numbers changed the association to the moving light.
那么这种数的关联，数的这个数学的关联呢，代替了和自然和光线的这个联系。
If the numbers align, then it must be true. If numbers connected, then it must be true.
如果这些数字相联系了，那么它肯定是真实的。
Okay, 1 second. Just go back a minute. Back. Yeah. So in the 5 elements, we think of them as elements. Here's for healing, for medicine, for different things. You have fire, you have water, you have all the herbal medicine is all tied up to this. But it's been tied up to it. Before this, those were the planets. The fire ball, the water ball, the wood ball, the metal ball, the earth ball. These were the planets. And the planets were moving. And that movement created stress, tension, and was the source of understanding disease and healing.
那么早期中国是有5元素嘛，金木水火土。那么这些元素的话，实际上是跟中药啊，跟很多中国的这些传统是联系起来的。那么实际上这些5元素就是5个星体，金星、水星、木星等等。 么实际上这些星体的运动呢，它跟人体是息息相关的，它带来了一些压力，或者是带来了一些就是给我们人体造成了一些机能性的一些阻力，所以这也是疾病的一些根源。
Okay. So, at the same time, a system of divination, counting the sticks, was you counted sticks, you asked a question, you got the answer.
那么，也就是在公元前1200年的时候呢，有个新的这个占卜的体系。这个占卜的体系呢，就是叫湿草占卜，也就是一根一根的这个棍子一样的。
So everyone could get to count the sticks. Later it became coins, but you count the sticks, you ask a question, you get to the advice, and it tells you how to live.
每个人他占卜的时候呢，就是问一个问题，然后通过数这个数的话呢，去获得一个答案。
You could do this without knowing about nature.
那么你这样做的时候，你可以不知道大自然，不知道自然的话，就可以获取一个答案。
So the wisdom in it came from the astrology, came from the nature.
那么这里面的智慧呢，实际上是来自自然的来自古人观测自然而得的。
The mathematics was just a game to get in, a way to get in to ask questions.
那么数的话，数学的部分其实只是一个就是像游戏中进入这个大门的一个钥匙一样。
In astrology, you would call it horary astrology. You ask a question, you do a chart for the question.
那么占星的话呢，对占星的话呢，也有一个这个我们叫做卜卦占星，也就是在你这个提出问题的当时、时间、地点去起卦，也就是做一个当时的一个这个星盘。
And then it tells you the answer, where this is going to go.
然后呢就可以告诉你问的问题的一个答案，从这个星盘中找到线索。
So many similar things. Ask a question. Where do you get the answer? Well, you can get it from the hexagrams. You can get it from nature. You can get it from your boyfriend. Or you can get it from wherever.
那么实际上都是很类似的方法，就是很多人来提出问题，你可以通过很多的这个工具获得答案。比如说，你可以通过卦象，你可以通过自然，你也可以通过问你男朋友获得一个答案。
So this became the education that's been passed on for thousands of years, this mathematical system. So many wise people wrote wonderful things in it.
那么这也就是这个系统，也就是用这个数学的系统，它传承了这么多年。那么很多有智慧的人都从中就是获得很多营养。
But they left astrology behind.
然而这个体系呢，它是把占星学抛之脑后了。
So to make the calendars, they made a number system. Instead of 8 trigrams, 64 hexagrams, there's 12 signs and 5 elements, and you end up with 60 years. And the 60 years repeats. That's numbers. That's not astrology.
那么就是他们把这个数的这个东西建立了这个公历，建立了这个年份，然后把这个占星学的部分呢，就是脱离了跟它的关系。
So, yeah. So this was the I Ching its wisdom was initially observation experience. It was the original astrology.
那么易经实际上它的本源是占星学，因为它的智慧是基于这个观测自然和这个人类的这个经历获得的。
So by 1200, the mathematical determination took the I Ching and a new calendar and a new mathematical corresponded astrology.
那么也就是在公元1200年的时候呢，这个数的一个推论或者是说占卜的方法呢，就是超越了易经的方法，也就是也形成了一个新的这个公历，然后呢，这个数的这个也适合修改了占星学，对。
So back then, it wasn't China. It was many different tribes and different languages, different pictures for the same thing, different pictures for different languages. They didn't come together till 2500 BC. That was the beginning of China. But back then, I think the calendars started then with the numbers, even though the records show today 2500
那么
BC.
我认为当时呢，就是开始了现在的这个年份，然后所有的这个日历的话，也是数字也是从当时起源的。
Okay, so I just said that we did that. Okay. The number associations became the new standard for astrology, calendars, even metaphysical thinking.
那么 这个输出的联系、数学的联系和数字的联系呢，成为新的准则。然后他开创了占星学，然后我们的这个日历，然后以及新的这些思维和逻辑。
Okay, a new dynasty had begun, but thoughts about the decline of an era come to mind.
一个新的王朝和新的方法呢也开始了。然而，我们也需要有这样的一个就是意识，也就是在这个时期，一个古老的时期也结束了。
A perceptive and accurate tool was replaced by a less inclusive and less functional one.
那么，一个非常有洞悉力的、一个非常正确的一个工具，是被那一种抽象的和就是抽象的一个工具代替了。
Okay, cycles of the sun or year, maps of the new way of later heaven, maps of the earlier heaven. By a slight adjustment, we'll see the difference and observe the old standard ways as well. I'll just go to the next one. That's okay. We don't have to explain this. Here. Okay. So this was the original arrangement.
是一个先天八卦图。
It's questionable because these were published by the Duke of Chou. As he was putting his new system in, he took these was what represents the old.
那么这个是被这个当时的周文王他这个去改变去做这个后天八卦图时候用的这个参照的原型。
Okay, so no, let's get back here. So on this one, you have they put summer right there, and winter on the edges, the seasons.
那么先天八卦图，大家可以看到说上面三条实线，就刚刚讲到过的是夏天，下面是冬天，然后四季都是在四轴上面的。
So if you just switch this a little bit, so you take these lines and just move them a little bit, you have summer is a whole phase, spring, summer, fall, winter, and they fit. Each trigram represents a phase, not just a point.
那么大家只要把这个轴线稍微往右偏一偏，就可以得到右边这张图。实际上大家可以看到说，夏天呢就可以代表一个阶段，而不就是一个点了。实际上这就是和星盘相应了，就是宫位相应了。
This is real. It comes to phases, and phases, not just numbers and a point.
那么这是真实的，因为它就是在自然界里面，季节就是一个周期，它并不是一个点。
So. This is a slight correction from the early arrangement. It puts the seasons where they should be.
这就是对那个先天八卦图的一个稍微小小的调节，就跟就是占星相应了。
See the daylight. The daylight increases half of the year. Nighttime. The darkness increases the other half of the year.
那么大家可以看到说，这个四季的这个都是显示在这边的。大家可以看到说，如果最后一根线是10的，它就是阳性的，所以就是左边的这半部分都是这个日光增长的这一部分。
When the daylight increases, we're being more independent. I'm doing my thing. I'm being more free. I'm doing my thing.
那么日光这个增长的部分是比较独立的，我想做我自己的事情，我就是想去做我自己的事情，其实是跟这个东半球的这个半球理论是相应的。
You'll never meet a Gemini who says, "We're going to do this. We're all together now."
你永远不会遇到一个双子座说，我们一起做这个事情吧，我们两个怎么样，我们怎么样。
And you won't meet a Capricorn that says, "I'm just being free."
你不会遇到一个摩羯座说我是自由的。
They're born in the winter. They're serious.
他们是冬天，他们是严肃的。
Gemini is born in the summer. It's fun.
双子座是在夏天，他们是有趣的。
So this is the whole corrected season. I won't stay here. It shows the sequence of how the light starts the greatest darkness, then it comes to the springtime, the winter, spring, summer, fall, how it goes around in a circle. It has its direction.
这样的是一个就是顺序一个周期，也就是最下面就是日光最黑暗的时候，然后再是这样子一个循环，季节的循环。
Now this was okay. Let's say this again. Okay, there's 3 systems. It changes it again here for the directions. The same thing. It says almost the same repeat. See, it's not the summer. Here it's doing it for north, south, east, west.
然后就是
对，
把这个4个方位加进来。
And When you put this in, then you put it to the sunrise, sunset, noon, midnight. You see the proper cycle. Daylight increases, midnight, sunrise to the brightest day, the end of the day, then it goes dark to nighttime.
那么，然后我们可以看到说，就是太阳上升下降也会带来一个同样的一个周期。最下面就是午夜，然后左边就是太阳升起的地方，然后上面是正午，下面是太阳下降的地方。
And so here you just see the direction. You see the direction: sunrise, noon.
那么这样的一个周期，这样的一个就是顺序的话，也可以看到说日光增长，月昼增长，这样也是有个时间的这个光的阴阳的变化。
Now, this becomes when you're working with a chart, the sunrise is the same as the ascendant. It's like your ascendant.
那么在那个就是通过星盘的话呢，你可以看到说，太阳升起的地方，它是跟上升点是一样的。
And the other side is the west is the descendant.
下降的地方是跟下降点是。
You have noon, what's overhead in the sky.
正午的话就是 MC 天
So
顶。
half of the sky is coming up, and half of the sky is going down.
那么一半的天空是在上的，一半的天空是在下的。
If you're born, sorry.
地平线之下的。
If you're born in the AM in the morning, your sun is rising. You're going to make your importance in the world. I got to do this. I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to prove I can do this.
那么，如果你是出生在这个早上的时候，或者是太阳升起的时候，你会想到说，我要去证明我自己，我要向这个世界证明我是可以的，我要去干一些事情。
If you're born in the afternoon, in the PM hours, you want someone else to do it for you or with you. We want to share. I want to be noticed. It's not I got to do it. It's are you with me?
那么，如果你是在这个PM 出生的话呢，或者中午以后出生的话呢，你会是希望对方会希望是有人和你一起做一些事情，一起经历一些什么事情。
Even Western astrology is very mathematical. They don't take. Some people do, but this rising setting, it's a powerful. That little thing, making a point or reacting to somebody. Two types of people, very powerful.
那么西方的很多占星学，大多数的都是一些数理为主的占星学，而我所倡导的是一些自然的占星学。虽然说刚刚讲的非常简单，就是在升起和下降和阴阳的这些变化不同，那么这也代表了两类非常特别的人。
So if you're the pushing, driving person, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to make this happen, and you get married, and your husband just someone says, well, you can do it. I like to do it with you, and he sits there and lets you do everything. He gets everything. You do everything. It's happy.
如果说你是那个就是主导型的，你是开创型的人，那么你的老公或者丈夫呢，他是喜欢享受就是两个世界或者是大家一起做的，那么你们在一起的时候会非常和谐，会非常开心。
Half the year in the year cycle, half the year daylight increases, half the year nighttime increases.
那么在一年中呢，有一半的这个年份呢，就是日光是增长的，有一半的年份呢，就是黑昼是增长的。
The more daylight increases, the more you're trying to be free. I'm going to be me. I'm going to do my thing.
那么日光越是增长呢，你更想要追求的是自由，或者是说自在。然后我想要去，你考虑多的是我想要做什么，我要干嘛。
So even Capricorns, it's still the daylight's increasing. They're going to do their own thing. One day I'll do it. One day I'll do it. They'll get a plan. But they'll still get there.
那么即使摩羯座，它也是日光增长的这个区域，所以说他也会说我要做什么，我有朝一日会做什么，我将来会做成什么。
So when the darkness is increasing, it's I want to belong. Why bother if nobody cares?
那么日昼增长的话，就黑夜增长的话呢，其实你是需要去跟人建立关系，去拥有的，去归属的。如果你没有一个归属，那人生什么是有意义的呢？
So in Cancer, it's sensitive. I want to have my home. Let's share home. Come to my house. Go ahead.
那么巨蟹是敏感的，他想要建立一个家，他想要跟别人分享一个家的氛围跟感觉。
In Sagittarius, they want to know everybody, everything that's going on, what's happening. They want to see everything.
那么就是那个射手座，他想要知道所有的东西，他要想认识所有的人，他对什么都那么感兴趣。
So but there's never time to do everything.
但是永远没有足够的时间去做所有的事情。
So then it goes around again. Capricorns make a plan so they can do everything.
然后就变成了摩羯座，就是我要有一个计划，我要去做一些事情。
And it just goes around.
然后又像一个自然的周期一样，不停的循环。
So when you're born, Which are you?
那么当你出生的时候，你是哪个呢？大家可以问一下老师。
See it personally. Is it real?
它是一个非常真实的自然的现象，你出生的时刻。
It's not an abstraction. You can see this behavior.
它并不是一个抽象的，因为我们可以看到每个人不同的行为。
You can see it in a 2-year-old kid.
你可以在一个两岁的小孩身上看到。
So, yeah, it's the darkness. Then the other half of the year, daylight is greater.
那么一半的一年
There's
中
more light in spring and summer. There's more light. In fall and winter, there's more dark.
那么一年中一半的时间呢，就是说这个就是日光是长的，一半的时间呢是日光呢是黑夜是长的。
So if there's more daylight, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo. I, me. It's my world. If I'm going to have a relationship, follow me. I'm not going to follow.
如果是那个日光长的话呢，就是我自己，他关注的就是这些。如果你们有关系的话，你会希望说跟随着我吧，跟着我吧。
If it's in the winter time,
如果是在冬天的话
or the fall, when the darkness is greater, we belong. We're a team. We need to do this. We got to be responsible.
那么，如果是在这个黑夜增长的更长的那一半年的时间的话，那么就是冬天。冬天的话，我们会希望说我们归属于对方，会归属于哪一个团体，我们会去希望一起做一些事情。
So the Scorpios will say, we're a team. We're here. This is it forever.
那么天蝎座说，我们是一个团队，我们在这儿，我们要永远在一起。
And the Gemini will say, what do you mean forever?
然后双子座就说，永远代表什么？什么是永远？
Yeah, it's just the same, light, dark. When you put them together, you get the 4 seasons.
如果是把这两者结合在一起的话，就变成了一个四季。我们有了四季的这个概念。
And yeah, simpler. So the I Ching, just daylight's increasing, but night's greater. That's winter.
那么大家可以从卦象上看到啊，就是实线的话就是日长增多，然后虚线的话那个代表说日光是黑夜是更长的。
In the springtime, daylight is increasing and daylight is greater.
那么在春天的时候呢，就是日光是增长的，然后日光也是更长的。
So I'm just going to go ahead a little bit. One second. Get the next one. Yeah, so you have, when you go, okay, let me just back up again for a second. What was it? Yeah, okay, so we just take out the words. You have the 4 seasons, but we're using 2 lines. When you go to the 3rd line, there becomes a broken and a solid. This divides solid, solid, broken, solid, solid, solid. It divides into 8.
然后我们内圈就是2条线，然后外圈就是把8卦放在外圈。
So when you put it to the zodiac, the trigrams, the eightfold path of the Buddha fits inside the zodiac. So
这个就是八卦呢，也是和这个黄道12宫12星座相应的。
So the strongest point of Aries is the first point of Aries. The strongest point of Cancer is the first point of Cancer. Strongest point of Aries, first point of Aries. Strongest point of Capricorn, first point of Capricorn, first degree of Capricorn.
那么最强壮的就是白羊座就是白羊座第1度，最强壮的巨蟹座就是巨蟹座1度，最强壮的天秤座第1度，最强壮的这个摩羯座就是摩羯座第1度。
And then the most changeable part of Sagittarius is the last degree.
那么就是变化最大的这个就是射手座最后1度。
Like Pisces, the last degree is the most important. Gemini, the last degree is the most strongest. Virgo, the last degree.
就好像双鱼座这个双子座和这个处女座最后1度都是最强的。
The fixed signs, they're in the middle between the 2 trigrams.
那么固定星座呢，它们是在中间，它们是在2个卦象之间的。
So if you took the fixed signs and you look in the zodiac, the first half is very different than the last half.
那么如果你在星座上看的话，那么前面这个固定星座的前一半和后一半是完全不同的。
So the first half Aquarius is bossy, okay, Capricorn. The second half Aquarius is trying to be more understanding, like Pisces.
那么就是水瓶座的前半部分呢，它可能跟这个摩羯座一样非常严肃。那么后一半部分呢，它可能想要跟双鱼座那样去更多的去理解。
First half of Taurus is more pushy, like Aries. I'm going to get what I want, it's mine.
金牛座的这个一半呢，它可能会前一半呢可能会像白羊座一样更有推动力，我想要干这个事情，我要实现这个事情。
The second half is more like Gemini. Why work for it if I can smile and just get it?
那个它后面一半的这个金牛座呢，可能会更像这个双子座。我为什么还要那么去冲去拼呢？如果我能够微笑去吸引这些大声，那有多好
So the first half, the first half of Leo is more like Cancer, more sensitive. I'm here, I'm sensitive, I'm listening. Like the first half of Leo is more sensitive.
那么就是这个狮子座的前半部分呢，它可能会像这个巨蟹座一样，会比较敏感。我在这儿，我希望跟大家有连接。
The second half is more arrogant. It needs more criticalness. It needs more Virgo because it thinks it does everything and it's not right.
那么它后半部分呢，可能会更像这个处女座一样，它更有这个判断，更有评断，更希望大家都能够认可它的一些事情。
So if you're working the I Ching, the trigrams, into the zodiac, you can start to see the relationship. It's in there. So even though Aries is a fire sign, it's the beginning of spring. Everything's melting. It's all full of water. The lakes are overflowing.
那么，如果大家把这个易经八卦，然后跟自然的概念结合在这个星盘中，大家可以感觉到，就是如果从举个例子来说，白羊座的话，大家可以感到这是春天，这是所有的东西都融化的季节。
Okay, so this goes a second deeper. Okay, we have the 8 trigrams, and each trigram has 8 divisions. It has a relationship to itself and to each trigram.
那么大家可以看到说八卦每一卦呢，它都有8个部分，每一个部分呢都是和它这个卦象相应的。
Now, there's a special problem in the I Ching. There's 384 lines.
在易经中有382条线。
In the zodiac, there's 360 degrees.
那么在就是这个星盘上呢有360度。
So there's 24. There's a difference of 24.
那么就差了24个。
So this, if you study them all, when they come together, when the 2 trigrams meet in the middle of the fixed signs, there's 3 solid, 3 broken. 3 solid, 3 broken. 3 solid, 3 broken, 3 solid, 3 broken. So only there in the whole circle does this happen. It's like, put your hands like that. And they can move, but they overlap. So those lines become neutral. And you have 1 degree for 1 line of the zodiac. 1 line of a hexagram for 1 degree of the zodiac.
那么就是其他的都是那个一个星座一个度数是有一条线的相应的，但是这里多出了这一个部分，大家可以看到这几个部分有3条实的，3条虚的。
So the lines are spaces, like the space of a degree.
那么这个线呢，实际上就像空间一样，它好像就是一个度数。
If it's a solid line, that degree is active.
那么如果是一个实线的话，那么这一个度数它是积极的能量。
If it's a broken line, that degree is passive.
如果是一个就是虚线的话，那么这个度数它就是一个就是阴性的能量。
If you have a violent Mars,
如果你有一个非常火爆的这个火星
an angry Mars,
一个非常愤怒的火星
and its degree, if it's a solid line or if it's a broken line, it's different.
如果它是在这个度数是实线和虚线的话，那么它也会带来能量的不同。
If it's a solid line, you put the anger out.
如果是个实线，你会把自己的愤怒发泄出去。
If it's a broken line, you take it in.
如果是虚线的话，你会吸收别人的愤怒进来。
So just there, wow, the zodiac just changed.
那么就是这样，这整个黄道的星座就完全不同了。
And so this is just another drawing of, okay, let me go further. This shows all the 64 hexagrams, 6 lines. It shows but so there's 5 hexagrams, but in the middle there's 6 because these neutral lines are there.
那么大家可以看到说，每一个的话都会有5个这个卦象，然后当中有一个是公共的。
I'm not going to go for this. Is too detailed, so I just wanted.
这是非常细节的，所以我不会详细的去讲了。
So this puts the color of the zodiac to the hexagrams.
那么这个把这个黄道12宫的颜色呢加到了这个卦象上去。
When you look at the old I Ching books, it's all light and dark, no color.
那么你看大家看到古老的易经的话呢，都是黑白的，都是阴和阳，日和昼和夜，日和夜这样子的区别，并没有颜色在里面。
Now this is here, the bright colors. That's the spring and summer.
那么下面呢是这些欢快的颜色，就是春天和夏天。
The dark colors are the fall and winter.
那么较深的颜色呢是秋天和冬天。
It's very unusual to see a Capricorn wearing yellow.
那么看到一个摩羯座穿黄色是一个非常少的现象。
But a Leo, they'll wear, here I am. Notice me.
狮子座会经常穿这些鲜艳的颜色，他会告诉大家说我来了。
So the influence of color has a whole psychology and a whole meaning. That's the same as the I Ching.
那么颜色呢，也是有很多心理的因素和这个它的这个就是社会的应用，所以其实它也是和易经相应的。
So this is the type of chart form I use.
那这是我所用的这个星盘。
It's a little different than the American chart forms, where you just put the houses in, and you write the planets in. Here you have the seasons, then you put the day moves inside of it. You see it. Yeah.
那我和这个平时一般的占星师用的星盘是不一样的，因为一般的只有宫位，然后星体这样子，然后我会加入了季节的元素，加入了这个易经。
So this is the ascendant, this is the descendant.
那么上升点和下降点。
And this is below the horizon. This is below the horizon. That's beneath the earth. This is above.
那么灰色的部分就是在地平线之下，然后白色的部分是在地平线之上。
That's a big difference. When something's below the chart, if you're born at nighttime, your sun is subjective. It's your personal world. Why go out in the world? I'm just going to stay home. I'll live my own way. I want my lifestyle.
那么，如果你是出生在黑夜的时候，午夜的时候，也就是在地平线之下的话，行星在地平线之下，那么你可能会是比较主观的，是一个比较自我的人，所以你会比较关注自己，可能比较喜欢待在家里，而不是这么想要去这个外面的世界闯荡。
If you're born in the daytime, you can't put up with your parents telling you what to do. You're going to get a job. You're going to get money. I want to get out of here.
那么，如果你出生在白天的话，行星在地平线之上，可能你没有办法去听从你父母的这个指教，说你应该干这个，你应该干那个。
So if you have a little boy born at midnight, or a boy born at noon.
如果想象你有一个孩子，一个是出生在午夜的，一个是出生在这个白天的。
The boy at noon will go get out of the house early, get a job, get money, have power.
那么那个出生在中午的这个小孩，可能会很早就想要去社会上闯荡正行，打出名气。
The girl too would do the same. I got to get out of here.
女孩也是的，她会离开家很早，离开父母很早。
But if you're born at midnight, why go out there? I can stay at home and wait till parents die and I get the house.
如果你是出生在午夜的，你会想，这个小孩可能会说，为什么我要出去？为什么我要出去闯荡？我就待在家里，我就很享受在家里，我就待在这儿，直到父母离世，我就拥有这个房子了。
It's a joke, but it's real.
那么这是一个笑话，但是这其实也是某一些现实啊。
People think like this. We process like this.
人们的思维和思想其实就是和自然也是相应的。
So this is a chart where you've added the constellations.
这个星盘呢，就是在外圈呢，把这个所有的星群、行星都放在外面了。
So with normal, simple astrology, you learn a planet. It's in a sign. It's in a house. It has aspects.
那么在通常的占星学里面，我们都会有根据行星它在这个宫位、它的星座，然后它所成的相位去理解。
But it's also in an I Ching hexagram.
但它也内在蕴含了这个易经的这个卦象。
So instead of dividing a hexagram, instead of having a question and asking the hexagram, you have a planet that's in a hexagram for your whole life.
那么除了就是像古人那样去问话，去问易经，用易经问话，实际上你出生的时刻，在你出生的时刻，你的行星就是位于某一个卦象的。
It's a big question. So it's just an access to a deeper database.
实际 际上它就是给我们开拓了更大的视野，让我们拥有了更大的一个数据库去获取信息。
If you don't know it, doesn't matter. But if you're interested in these things, wow, it starts to make connections.
那如果你不理解也没有问题，但是如果你开始对这个感兴趣，你可能会发现，哇哦，它可能会给你开启了非常崭新的视野。
Okay, so this is just we talked about this. This is the daylight, the rising and the setting for the hours of the day. The line of power, the rising half, the setting half.
那么这个就是升起和下降的那个半球，我刚刚讲过，就是这中间的轴线就是代表传递的轴线。
So there's two types of power.
那么有两种形式的传递。
There's a power of status and career.
那么一种是地位和职业的权利。
There's the power at home of your personal motivation.
那么另一种力量就是我们的家、我们的根基以及你个人的动机。
At work, you don't like me, I don't like you, you're fired.
那如果在工作的话，在职场的话，我不喜欢老板不喜欢你，可以把你开除。
At home, if you don't like me, you treat me like that, I'm not talking to you.
如果你在家的话，如果我不喜欢你的话，如果你这样对我，我不喜欢，我就不跟你说话。
We have our personal motivation and we have our outer motivation.
那么我们有我们个人的动机，我们也有在这个世界上生活的这样的一个动机。
In astrology, it's always been for kings and emperors. It's always been for the midheaven, for the status, how big you're going to get.
那么在占星学经常是被用于这个帝王的或者是权力地位的人的这样的一些会度。
But the I see is the most important one. Next to your sun is one of the most important points in your chart. It's where you're coming from. Why do you get up in the morning? Why bother? Where are you coming from? What motivates you? What makes you tick?
I see 也是非常重要的一个点，它也是就相当于这个天底的话也是非常重要的点，它就代表说我来自哪里，我是谁，是什么驱动我去在这个世界上生存的，我的意义是什么。
So the rising half is the instigating half. So if you're born in the morning, AM hours, you instigate. You're an instigator.
那么在升起的这个半球，就是东半球的话，它是一个非常具有主动性去开创的一个半球。
If you're born in the afternoon, you're a reactor.
那么如果你在下午出生的话呢，你可能会是一个回馈型的人格。
Someone could be very powerful reactor. I react, I see, okay, see that, I react, okay, now I'll do something.
那么其实那个回馈性的人格也是可以非常强的。当你去获得某一种呼应的时候，你立刻去回馈，也是一种非常强的力量。
So we instigate our life, we put out, then we go all morning, we do everything we can, then we're reacting. By the time we go home, we feel good or we don't feel bad, or we feel bad, depends what reaction we get. And then we have to go to sleep, and inside our sleep, we have guilt, we have complexes, we feel good, wow, it's easy to get up. We feel bad, why get up the next morning? It's the same.
这好像就是一个人的周期，就像我们在这个我们早上起床，然后我们去把我们的能量发散出去，然后去跟这个世界会有互动，然后在下午的时候呢，我们会有到晚上的时候，我们会收到一些回馈，有一些好的回馈，有一些不好的回馈。所以当我们在晚上在 IC 的时候，在深夜的时候，内在就会有这样的一个潜意识会有这样的斗争，会有这样的一些冲突，或者会有这样的一些剧情。那当我们就是我们的这个回馈是好的话，可能第二天起来我们就会非常开心的。当我们获得的回馈是不是怎么很好的话，可能我们起来的时候会非常累，会非常就好像没有睡醒，很辛苦的那种感觉。然后我们再开始起床，然后再带着我们的情绪开始新的一天，就是一个人的周期的循环。
If you're consulting with someone and someone's depressed, you have to know where they're coming from.
如果你跟一个人去进行咨询的话，如果对方他是抑郁的话，你必须知道他是从哪里来的，你必须知道他的意义是什么。
How do you fix that? Where you're coming from?
你如何帮他去，你如何去帮助他，让他知道自己是从哪来的呢？
If you don't like what's coming into you, I'm not happy, I'm not happy. What are you putting out? Hi, how you doing? No. What are you putting out?
那如果你就是对自己从哪儿来，或者自己并不满意的话，然后你出去还是笑脸迎人的话，可能就是一种分裂。
The problem is not how come this guy did this to me. It's how come I attracted this guy.
这问题是并不是说这个人为什么这么对我，而是要这样去问说，为什么我会吸引这样的人到我的生命？
Yeah, it's my lesson. I married 3 times. I divorced 3 times. How come I attracted these wives?
这就是我自己的这个人生体验。我结了3次婚，也离了3次婚，所以我会问自己，我如何吸引这样的一个。
I was so sure. No, when you're in love, you're stupid. You know, so like even if you know astrology, you're sure I can deal with this. I can deal with this. Okay, we'll take it on. Until 6 months later, you look at it and you hurt. You go, oh.
所以就是，当我们陷入爱河的时候，我们会变得愚蠢。然后虽然占星也会有一些提示，但是我们可能会想，我可以去改变这些。
So this is the conscious. The ascendant is just your conscious. How you see yourself, how you put yourself out, and how you react to other people.
那么，上升点呢，就是我们说的就代表意识的轴线，就是你如何看待自己，你如何展现自己给别人。
So we see, here's my face, I'm putting it out. But other people aren't seeing what I'm putting out. They're seeing, they're reacting. Why are they always acting like that? They see the other half.
那么，有一些人会看到我的表面，但是另一些人他可能会去，就是更注重于去回馈，去接受一些，可能是回馈我的能量。
But this is the consciousness. This is just our appearance. The depth is in your motivation, where you come from.
这个只是我们的表面，就是我们的意识，我们展现出来的。但是内在我们更深层，就是我们的内在的机制和动机，就是什么样让我们这么做，我们从哪儿来，这是非常重要的。
Okay, I'm just going to go ahead a little bit more. So this is just doing the same thing with the houses, where you see the houses they kind of move the other way, but you have the subject, you have. No, I'm not. It's too much time. I'm going to just pass these by. But this is just showing the sequence, how it builds up for the houses.
这就是告诉我们，就是说宫位是如何跟卦象相结合起来的。
Now you can count the houses both ways. Normally, in astrology, say this is the first house, the second house, third house, and we go through saying this is about money, this is about relationship, this is about brothers and sisters, or this is home. That's one way of counting. But really, the sun comes from here, from the 4th house, in a day. It goes up this way. It goes up this way. It comes up to the sunrise. It really goes the other way.
那么我们宫位的话，可能会熟悉是1宫、2宫、3宫，就是数字上写的这个顺序。1宫代表我自己，2宫是钱财，3是我的兄弟姐妹和邻居，然后我的家等等。但实际上，真正的次序应该是从这个太阳，是从 IC 这边最底端开始慢慢往上升起的这个顺时针的顺序。
So this is a whole class in itself, but really you can project the 12th house. You know, they say the 12th house, not good house, nothing. It's a difficult house, bad things happen in it. But what it is, you take your image, you put it, say you're in an elevator and 2 people come in the elevator. Do you say hello? Do you smile? Or do you just stay in the elevator, go up and get out? So when you walk down the street or you meet someone and someone sees your face, are you putting good energy out? Are you putting worry out? Are you putting fear out? What are you putting out? If you put out bad, you'll get enemies and bad things. If you put out good, you'll find friends.
那么其实就是刚刚老师讲的是12宫这个概念，就是12宫通常传统意义上来说是不好的，是困难的，是一些就是潜意识的宫位。但是实际上我们是这样理解12宫的，也就是说12宫是在把你自己去表现出来。那么比如说我们举个例子说，如果你走出电梯，你是面带微笑的呢，还是你是面带烦恼的和痛苦的这种神情？如果你是面带微笑的话，你可能会吸引很好的能量；如果你是面带愁苦的话，你会把这些困难和潜在的敌人吸引到你生活中来。
So if you put out good, you get friends. You can accomplish more.
如果你投射出好的，你就会吸引朋友，就是11宫。
If you get friends, you really can achieve something. We can put the team together. We can make something happen.
如果你能够结合朋友，或者是结识朋友，或者团结某些人，那么你就可以成就一些事情。
If you put out, oh, I'm so worried, nothing's good, it's all bad. Who are you going to attract? What are you going to? You try and make something happen, it's going to fail.
那么，如果你想象一下，如果你带着那一种负能量，哎呀，这些抱怨的能量，那么你吸引的是什么样的人呢？你可以想象你能够成就大业吗？
Yeah, it's not my fault. It's because I'm married.
这不是我的错啊，因为我结婚了才会这样。
We play games in our mind with where we are.
我们常常会用我们头脑去做这些游戏。
So even in astrology, there's many systems and many ways to try and plan it. Many are mathematical.
那么，就像是占星学里面，其实也有很多都是用一些数理的这些逻辑去推导的。
Not much is experiential.
但不是那些有经验的通过经历去演化的。
But you can't. If you just do astrology, you think it's experiential. But when you run across the real experience, it just opens different.
然而就是那些实际的经验或者是自然的话呢，其实给到我们是非常非常大的洞悉。
Okay, so, and this does the same thing with aspects when you do the waxing and waning moon. It builds up to the full moon, the greatest brightness, comes down to the darkness, but it spirals, the cycle is the other way. Half it's waxing, half it's setting. So this is just doing the same cycles. I'm not going to do all of this. When it's a conjunction, it goes towards action. When it goes in opposition, it's towards awareness.
那么合相的话呢，就是行动，朝向行动，然后呢，就是对冲相的话呢，是朝向于意识的。
So these build up until you get the 4 sections, and it comes to adjusting awareness to get to action, extending awareness, extending action, adjusting action, extending awareness. These are the phases of the moon, or the phases of a cycle.
那这个就是一个月相的周期，或者是一些心智的周期。我们调节我们的意识，然后我们去扩展我们的行为，然后再调节我们的行为，然后再扩展我们的意识。
Okay, so this goes to the 8 main aspects.
那么这是8个主要的这个相位。
And then it goes to the phases of the moon.
那么这是和月相相一致的。
And you can do the phase of moon like this.
那么月相也是可以把它放到这个，就是跟卦象结合起来的。
So, yeah, this is just, and this is normally we see the I Ching with black and white.
那么通常我们看到易经都是黑白的。
But if you put the colors in, they start going around like this.
那么我们把颜色加进来。
So that's winter,
那冬天、
spring,
春天、
summer,
夏天、
fall.
秋天。
So then you have all the colors in the zodiac with the I Ching. Very simple.
那么这是非常简单的颜色和占星和易经结合起来。
That's it. So, okay, wait a minute. The I Ching is an incredible tool. It's very sharp. It's exactly measures things.
那么易经是非常非常伟大的工具，它非常的有智慧，它就是去描述或者是去就是讨论自然界给我们人类的启示。
There are problems in the I Ching that have been written in. The superior man, the inferior woman, instead of just, it's the superior individual.
那易经的撰写中会有一些问题，就是无上的人，或者是说比较低等的这些女人，但实际上人都是平等的。
So words are the lowest form of astrology.
那么实际上语言是占星学最低级的这些，可能语言是有一些传物的。
So, but when these come together, if you see it, it just opens everything up, and it makes it an incredibly useful tool.
如果能够把易经这些自然的这些部分结合在星盘中，就会给我们扩大非常宏大的视野，帮助我们去获得一个非常正确的视角。
But to get good at it, it takes time. You have to go in, you have to study all these things, then there's one more thing, then there's more things. It just keeps going. But it's an interesting learning curve.
那么，如果你能够对这个感兴趣的话呢，你可以去慢慢的去学习，然后会获得非常大的洞见。
But Chinese thinking from China, is more astrological than Western astrology.
那么中国的这些古老的传统，其实相对于西方的很多占星，它会更加具有这些自然的智慧。
So you can learn both languages, that's good.
你可以学习2种语言，2种智慧的语言。
But you can look and perceive for yourself.
但是你可以自己去体会，自己去进行研究。
You don't have to just follow what somebody else says.
那你不需要去就完全的去听服另外一个别人讲的事情。
So, in any language, if you learn Chinese, I might learn 10 words. Maybe that's it. Kung Hei Fa Chui or something. I know a couple of things. That's it. But I can do some things with a few words. Some people know 100 words. Some people know 1,000 words. Some 10,000. And each will say, they'll say their own things. Just because someone speaks English or speaks Chinese doesn't mean they're worth listening to.
那么，就学习这些占星或者易经，都像学习语言一样的，你可能会懂10个单词，或者是100个单词，可能很多人会懂大概几千个单词，但是对你来说，只要你能够深深的理解这些词，能够学会运用的话，就非常重要。
Yeah, if you're going to see a doctor, you like the doctor. If you don't like the doctor, you don't go see him.
就好像你去看医生的话，你会选择自己喜欢的医生去看。
Same with astrologer. You have to like what the astrologer is saying or doing, because
就像占星一样，或者是易经一样，你必须要去喜欢这些原理，你必须要去跟这些原理有自己本人的呼应。
So, thank you for coming, and all of you, if you're on the mailing list and that, I'm going to send you a copy of my I Ching book.
那么非常感谢大家今天晚上能够来，然后如果大家留下你们的这个邮件的话呢，老师会把自己写的占星和易经的这本书发给大家，这是电子的书，所以会发到每个人的邮箱给大家。这本书的原文非常优美的。
It will be a link. It's a download. It's 2,500 pages. 2,500 pages.
是2500页，它会有一个链接给大家，大家可以下载。
Confucius said if he had 50 more years to live, he would devote it to the I Ching.
那么孔子说，如果他有就是50年更多的历史，就还有50年的时间可以活的话，他会去把这50年的时间都花在学习易经上面。
I'm in my 48th year of studying it.
我已经学了48年了，已经。
So, it's just been a friend. It's come along, but there's so many. It includes so many things. But I'll send you it. I'll send you a download link, and then you get it, and then you're on your own with it. Then maybe someday, next time I come to China, we can do a special workshop on it.
那么，好像易经是对我来说就像朋友一样，他来到我的生命，然后我就结识了他50多年了。所以就是我写了这2500这个页的这个书籍以后，我自己觉得好像就是把这个老朋友认识的老朋友，就是能够呈现给大家。然后也希望大家能够喜欢。下一次我来的话，我也希望能够跟大家有一些易经和占星的这样的研讨会或这样的一些讨论。
So in astrology, you would use it from your sun, your planets, what hexagram is in, which ones do I have? In the progress chart, when you spend a year in each degree, those degrees come very alive with the I Ching.
那么就是在这个你的星盘中，你的太阳、你的所有的行星都跟这个落在星座的话，都是跟这个卦象是相应的。然后当你学到高阶的推运或推进的时候呢，就是每个推进的度数跟这个卦象是非常有呼应的。
So the secret to working well with these advanced techniques, get your basics, get the foundations, make them strong.
那么学习占星的这些秘密，就是说你要把这些基础打得非常非常扎实。当你基础扎实的时候，在你学高阶的时候，你把所有的东西都可以结合起来应用的。
Like a musician, you're playing songs, but when you go home, you do your scales again, again, again.
那么就像说，想要成为一个音乐家，你必须在家不停的去枯燥的去练琴，不停的去练习。
That's it. Thank
就是这
you.
样，非常感谢大家。